welcome to a special edition of Cat Space. I'm Cat. This is Buckets. With us is Leon and Luna. Welcome.
Hi.
Evening.
Hi.
Evening. So, on this special edition, we have with Cat Space News is our very intense topic. Please join along. Our topic for tonight is Australia in decline. I'm going to let you answer the first question.
I'm in control of the questions. That's fantastic.
Question master.
First the questions, then the world. Will Australians need to be trained in other industries that they are not normally used to, let's see, due to lack of jobs?
Who wants to go first? Leon.
All right, so I think eventually we're all going to have to be retrained in something or other. Um, it's you really do need more than one skill, especially right now. Because there is a lot of industries right now which are collapsing at the moment, and it's pretty much been like that throughout 2023 at least. So, and I'm talking about, say, the construction industry is a perfect example of this. This is this is why you need like an extra skill, so it's something you can fall back on in case one of your main ones doesn't work. You've got something to fall back on.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the case now. Look, I remember when all it took for you to get a job was to rock up to Red Rooster or Macca's. You'd fill out an application form, and that was it. Now, right, you have to go online, go for a job, pretend that actually someone actually cares about the 100,000 emails that they're going to read your application form, and then just hope that you're going to get this job. Now, of course, this does require a new set of skills, like particularly they'll get a third party involved to interview people. But look, a lot of the jobs that we have now are quite quickly vanishing because they're all being replaced by technology. And a perfect example of that is the car industry, where you just put everything on a conveyor belt and just drill everything in it, and you just produce cars within half an hour. Whereas before they would have just been made by hand. So, like, there will be effectively a shift. And if you don't get on board with a new set of education, then you're just going to be left up behind, unfortunately.
Lisa?
I think it's inevitable with a growing community and an expanding future. Obviously jobs will become scarce in some departments, and some not needed, as Phil's saying, engineering and software have taken us a long way. At the same time, I do believe that some of those implements are already in place. I believe coding is a necessary subject at schools now, for students to learn. So there's that. We never had to learn that in school. And yeah, I do believe that what comes a growing community also comes with growing factories, growing engineers, growing doctors. Everything will expand to a bigger way of doing things. Much like America, they're such a large industry purely because of how many states they have and how many people are in each state. Australia will eventually become that. I really believe that.
Can you read that question again for me?
Oh, great. Number two.
No, can you read that again?
This one here?
Yeah.
Okay. Will Australians need to be trained in other industries that they are not normally not used to due to lack of jobs?
For me, I'd say I agree because I work in retail. Now that is a fast-paced job, and can be quite stressful for a lot of reasons. And am I looking for another job? Absolutely, because I need something that's going to pay me a bit more money that I'm worthy of and I deserve getting. I mean, retail is great. So many people walk in the shops, but how many people go online and spend a lot of money on retail, right? So eventually I'm going to find another job where I can leave my job to go into another job that gives me something I need, which is a reward, and that's the challenge. And that's so exciting for me because it's easier to be in a job while look for another job, get that job, and leave that job while, once I get that job. I think people will have to branch out and find other jobs for them in different avenues and, find something that's a bit more stability. Question 2.
I feel so much more powerful that I'm reading every question. I mean, I feel like I'm on
Okay,
a quiz
question
show.
2.
Have we abandoned the good old days for way more complicated, unhappy days? And let's see, and do we have those happy days? Can we have those happy days back?
So wait,
Maybe it's better if you read.
have we abandoned the good old days for way more complicated, unhappy days? And how do we have those happy days back, Leon?
How do we get them back? That's a good question. You have to roll back. You have to roll back a lot of the industry because a lot of the industry has gone too far at the moment. As the way I see it, it's gone too far, and that's the reason why there's people are doing more these days just to get the same amount, but at the same time, you are missing out on, say, potential holidays because of the cost of living prices going up. And you just need to keep working because if you don't, you're going to fall behind on your rent and, say, your electricity and all that sort of stuff. That's um that's a cost of living. That is a cost of living issue. So as soon as that comes down a bit, then you guys can start, enjoying yourselves a bit better. Because right now, there's not a lot of enjoyment in the air.
Can I add to that, please? So back in the days, it did not take a lot of money for you to be happy. In fact, it practically took no money to be happy. I mean, I remember when I was living at home with my mum and dad, and we used to go on picnics all the time. The only thing we paid for was basically the food. And but we would go to the park and have a great time with my family, and sometimes we might bring a frisbee or a tennis ball or something like that. We very rarely went to the movies until I was a teenager. But when I was a kid, it really didn't cost all that much to stay happy. We didn't have as much fear as we do today. We have stacks of fear today. We're afraid of everything today. But back then, we were pretty fearless. And there was a lot of common sense, and you could go to the beach with your friends. You could just you send your kids and have sleepovers. You could do those things, and it didn't really cost all that much money. But because we're depending more on social media, and because we're depending on like phones, I couldn't believe that. I'm not going to name his or her name, but I couldn't believe that a friend of mine's son was getting mobile phones at the age that they were, considering it was such an expensive present. And I just think to myself, why are we doing this to our children? Because you're treating them to a life which basically, in one sense, they're being completely spoiled, but in another sense, it's like you're completely sort of killing off what makes family or human time special, and you're making the children more isolated. And I think we really need to ground ourselves and remember what human beings need instead of what is just artificial. I think that's really important.
Luna?
Could you read the question again? Sorry.
Have we abandoned the good old days? Have we abandoned the good old days for way more complicated, unhappy days? And how do we have those happy days back?
So I wouldn't say so much that we abandoned them. I would say that we've expanded into the future. It was inevitable. With technology growing, it's just the way things, move forward. That's just how things 100 years ago, they didn't have such and such. And today we have this. And, like, they didn't have iPhones. Imagine being without an iPhone or like a smartphone. Do you know what I mean?
I lived that
Do
life.
Yeah, well, exactly. Do I think that why are so many people looking at these days as bad? Because of inflation and because of the cost of living, purely because of those facts. If that wasn't happening, everyone would be like, oh, everything's good, technology, let's get this and let's get that. I think that's the issue. I don't think we abandon anything. And how do we get the good days back? We'll eventually get there. Things will eventually balance out money-wise in the world. Eventually, things will even out and people will go back to being able to live comfortably. If not, there'll be some sort of pay rise or there'll be some sort of solution that will come along. And that's the evolution of humans. A problem occurs. It can only happen for so long before people start presenting solutions to it that might catch on and go viral. That's my 2 cents.
I think for me, people spend too much time on social media. So we've forgotten what it's like to be off social media, where everything the news when it comes to Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok. I miss the old ways of finding a movie, the newspaper article, and cutting it out, or ringing up the cinema because you've seen it in a newspaper and you've gone there with your friends. I think the good old days, I don't know if they'll ever come back. I think we are I don't mean to be doomy or gloomy, but we are in a very, very, very dark spot. Someday, I hope we come out of it. I think COVID messed things up big time. I think COVID made everything harder. And I just pray that one day we come out and that light shines again in Australia for the good old days. I just hope for the sake of the nation.
Can I say something about that? COVID was bad and it really did isolate us as humans. And we saw the problems with mental health that came with that. Okay. But even before COVID, there were still kids that preferred playing video games on their phones than actually.
You have to remember those generations, they're born into technology. Our generations, we weren't born when technology was there, and if it was there, we would be involved with it as well as much as what these kids are. We have to remember that the devices that are available now, that's the generation they're born into. They are technology babies, if that makes sense. That's all they've ever known. They don't know the world before that, and this is normal to them. So therefore, it's not bad in their eyes, which is why it's so advanced.
I think people have forgotten, or kids have forgotten a game of Monopoly or chess or game of life or whatever. People now are more susceptible to social media. Gossip spreads on social media, news spreads on social media. People prefer to spend a lot of time, what's happening in our backyard, everything is on social media. If you notice, that's why our country is in decline. Next question.
Oh, okay. How do we make Australia better?
Ooh.
Well, it's not copyrighted. I mean,
good shot.
We don't have any.
Touché.
Oh, well, maybe.
Good shot. That was Leon's question. Good shot.
All right. So how do we make Australia better again? Obviously, the pay gap has got to level out for starters, because the pay gap between a man and a woman, the pay gap has been off for such a long time. That needs to be balanced out. straight away that needs to be balanced out. That's the way that you start making Australia better again. That's one way to do it. That's the start of it. And also, equal holiday, I guess, better holiday. I don't know. It's got to be like it'll always come down to the cost of living right now. Um, another way you make Australia better again. Um, Obviously we need to bring down the prices of electricity and gas. So why are we not investing? Right, so we're not really investing in um what's it, nuclear or hydrogen powers, those kind of extra powers that'll help bring down the price of electricity. Why are we hell bent on staying with, say, while we're trying renewables and also wind farms? Because there's a problem with the wind farms, because if it's not windy, guess what don't work? The wind farms.
Yeah, but there's a problem. So when you say nuclear,
Yeah.
okay, everyone gets scared of that because because nobody wants another Chernobyl.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good
Um,
point.
So nuclear power is brilliant, right? Because once you've got nuclear power, you've got just so much energy, right? So much energy.
Hmm.
But if anything goes wrong, if one thing goes wrong, you can wipe out an entire town. And it's not so much the nuclear energy that will destroy you, it's actually the nuclear waste. So you have to find places to get rid of the nuclear waste.
Isn't that what they're
Uh,
doing right now in Japan right now? They're dumping, I believe, water from the Fukushima or whatever that is, power plant into the ocean right now. I think
Mm.
that's currently happening in Japan right now.
Well, there was one thing I heard that even Australia was doing, right, was basically what they do is they dig a hole, like a really, really big hole, right? And they fill that hole with concrete and they basically put drums of nuclear waste in said hole, and then they seal it up with concrete so no one can go down there. And that was one way to deal with the nuclear problem. In fact, they even had nuclear drums, and I kid you not, they were actually below universities. Can you imagine that? You've got lots of kids going to university, studying all sorts of education, and below them are nuclear drums, and they didn't even know. Well, someone knew.
And just
Uh,
just for the record, the Fukushima wastewater is going into the ocean right now. So yeah, that had been news for the last few days.
so I mean, like, if it's safe, we're good, right? But
Yeah,
if it's
that's of
not,
course we've got to make sure it's all safe. Yeah.
yeah, but if it's not, and we screw up, we
Well,
can destroy an entire city.
sorry, Blue
If
Mountains.
Luna, how do we make Australia better?
Um, agreeing, with some points from both you guys. I mean, equality with the pay gap, 100%. I believe there needs to be one nation only, if that makes sense. Everyone needs to be included in that too. Everyone needs to have their equal rights. No one should be treated unfairly based upon their religion, their skin color, their gender, their preferred romantic partner, whatever it is. And I do think that there needs to be some sort of incentive to make the younger generations want to study again. I really like the way that China and Japan and stuff educate their children. I mean, these children are doing complicated math at such a young age. I know it's rough, but I feel like it sets you up for a real positive future. And I feel like, let's start doing that. We have so many, and I'm going to say this in the nicest way possible, but we have so many laborers in this country, and people are struggling based upon the cost of living. I do think that, am I saying that education is a way to fix that? No. But am I saying that education is a way to raise up our community to a higher level? Yes. And I do believe that expansion of what you were talking about, Phil, will happen when the community expands to more people. And the reason that they don't bring in those power implements now is because it's not necessary just yet. When the community grows even larger, that's when they'll have to start looking at different power sources. You know what I mean? This area is controlled by wind farms. This area is because it's really windy. This area is controlled by solar panels because it's really hot here. They'll have to start implementing things like that so that everyone can have their fair share of power and electricity that's at a fair price. And right now, it's not at that fair price because we don't have the community numbers to bring in those implements that might bring it down the cost. We just don't have the people here and we don't have the funds for it. That's it, plain and simple.
Yes. I think the way for me to make Australia better is, as all of you said, the cost of living needs to come down. The one thing, not one thing, but the strong thing that needs to be implemented into this is, yes, you said the gender pay gap. I don't get paid enough. So the gender pay gap needs to close. Us women need to earn a bit more than the average guy, right? That needs to be worked on as well. The cost of living, gender pay gap. Also, what we need to talk about is the rental freeze. We need a rental freeze. If we get a rental freeze for 2 years, Australia will be able to live, right? We'll be able to do things we used to do. Because of, the political party that doesn't want to come to the table in regards to the rental freeze, they want to focus more on supplies for building homes. I get that. But to do that, if you come to the table and put the rental freeze, people feel a bit more secure. We're all struggling. It's not easy. It's painful. Every day I wonder, are we going to have to move out next year? How much is it going to cost us? Where are we going to live? What, real estate, or what apartment are we going to go to? Right? That needs to be talked about. That is very painful and very sad for people like us and a lot of people out there who are sleeping in tents.
I one of the things, I'm sorry if I interrupted, but the one thing the Labor government wants to do now is they want to create more houses so that there's sort of, it's a bit like the diamond mine thing. The more diamonds you have, the less the diamonds are worth, kind of thing. But unfortunately, that's not how reality actually works, because this is Sydney and this is Australia, and people will always want houses. The price of houses will probably never go down because there's so many taxes. And anyone who's got a mortgage still has the ability to have negative gearing, so that they're fine. But anyone who's renting, they don't have the same rights as anyone who actually owns a property. So there are way more renters in Australia than there are property owners. That's 100% true. And you've also got to remember that it actually takes time to build a house. So just say you have like 10,000 empty buildings. Just say you got 10,000 empty buildings. There's no way that 10,000 empty buildings are going to be able to facilitate all of New South Wales or all of Australia. It just simply won't happen. There isn't enough land for a start. You have hundreds of thousands of people that are becoming Australian citizens every single day. You have got hundreds of thousands of people coming into Australia and on working visas. Where are they going to live? They're going to
what will eventually happen is country towns will eventually become cities, and there will be a new city based around that country town. But for instance, Sydney will still be the capital. The capital of New South Wales, but there will be other cities in New South Wales. And the same will go for all the states. And there is if you go out into the country, there is actually a lot of land out there, and it is possible to purchase pretty cheap. Not, I would say cheap, like compared to the city standard now. You can purchase land out there, but it is right out in the country, and you do need a car. And there isn't like civilization 10 minutes away. It's, half an hour away or 20 minutes away. Like there is downfalls to it. Those places though, in let's say 50 years from now, will eventually be built up.
Hopefully. But you know what? You know what I find interesting about that is the fact that where the first Europeans went for the first time is still where all the major cities are, and still where, because they're all close to water, right?
And eventually all the properties in the city and even the outer suburbs of the city, the north, south, east, and west, all those properties will become so expensive because so many people want to live close to the city eventually.
I can see that happening, but my point, what I was basically getting at, is the fact that when it comes to the renters and why we need a rental freeze, even though the Labor government does not want a rental freeze, if you give someone, or just say you give Sydney-siders a rental freeze, or even Melbourneites a rental freeze, what effectively happens is this: you will have Australian households will have more money to spend in other industries, and when that happens, more jobs will be effectively created by doing that. So instead of all the money going into a house, all right, or an apartment or a studio apartment, okay, you'll be able to spend on other industries like tourism, like shopping, like entertainment, okay, that will ultimately create better jobs, more frequent jobs, which is instead of the opposite, which is, okay, well, if I can't pay the rent, I get kicked out and I get put on the street and end up in a tent, because tents are cheaper than actually living in an apartment.
Yeah.
You want to read the next question, please?
Okay, so how is our tourism going, and where is it? Where is there a decline? Let's see. Well, Sydney is obviously probably the most expensive city in the world. Paris is absolutely beautiful, but Sydney's more expensive than Paris.
I've heard Hong Kong's very, very expensive.
Not nearly as expensive as they come close, but there's not nearly as expensive as Sydney.
There's people in Hong Kong living in little capsules.
That'd be cool.
I think it's a bit like full on. That's their whole house. They've got a kitchen in there. They've got a bed. They've got a toilet. They've got everything. And it's like a little caravan, little pod.
Guys,
Smaller.
Leon, how is our tourism going, and where is there a decline?
Obviously, when COVID hit, everything, the tourism industry, that was gone, absolutely gone. And I do remember seeing on our local news here in Australia, Melbourne got hit really hard, and I know Luna can vouch for this, because but that tourism industry got hit hard. We're seeing things slowly start to pick back up, but I'm afraid it's probably too little, too late for a lot of the tourism industries, because of prices that are going up, and they can't, and certain tourism industries can't recoup because of the lockdowns and the shutdown of the tourism industry that we had. Only now, I believe, boats, I believe the cruises are now starting to get back to normal now. Finally, after over a 3 year deal. a lot of people are probably, still gonna, be worried about, obviously looking over our shoulders, possibly, the COVID's still around. Um, I don't think we're gonna see as many people, doing a world tour or whatever, touring, because of their fear that COVID has brought on, and also, especially in Australia where we had snap lockdowns. And can you imagine, like, put yourself in someone's shoes, like, if you're over in, say, I'll just randomly pick a state, Queensland or whatever, and say you're on a holiday there, you would need to book a flight to get out of there. And that booking that flight could be expensive as you may not have enough money to pay for a ticket to get out of there. You're stuck in that state until lockdown comes off. And
Yeah.
you're potentially out on the street through no fault of your own. That's why a lot of people are hesitant to tour, to go on a holiday, a trip overseas or whatever, because if you're far away from home and that lockdown happens, you could be stuck halfway across the world.
Yeah, like
You might be
Greece.
able to get back home.
Greece, no one could basically withdraw money from ATMs because they had an economic crash. And so there were people legit stuck in Greece, couldn't go home.
I heard about
So,
that.
So, how is our tourism going? Where is the decline? Okay, so let's take it back a couple of decades. Let's go back 15, 20 years, 30 years. Australian ads always came on our TV screens. Okay. Come visit Australia. First we had hoax. Throw shrimp on the barbie, even though we don't say
it's
shrimp.
prawns. It's prawns.
Yes, I know it's prawns, but
Get it right.
I know it's prawns, but I'm just saying when he said throw shrimp on the barbie, right? Even though we don't say shrimp, we say prawn. A lot of overseas people love that ad of Hogan because they knew him from Crocodile Dundee. They followed his movies. That moment was historic. He brought people to our country. They came here in the droves from Canada, from America, from England, from wherever in the European nation. They all came here and they spent billions. They helped our economy rise, right? Bring it forward 30 years. Okay. Bring it forward a few. Australia, where the bloody hell are you? Got ripped to shreds.
Yeah,
ripped
because
to shreds.
that almost told people to. That's like my mum calling me out. That's like me
No
wanting
one.
to.
That's because in other countries, bloody doesn't have the same
effect.
Bloody
effect it
could
does.
be a curse word in certain countries.
I know. I thought that was the worst ad ever.
And the word howl was in there.
Yeah.
I know that's such an Aussie thing to say, and we don't think twice about it, but yeah.
But that was the fall of our tourism. It just died, right?
I think one of the best tourism ads you will ever see would have been that. You remember this one? See you in the NT in the Northern Territory. Do you remember this one?
Yeah.
And people finally caught on the initials, and it said something completely rude, but I thought that was "See you in the NT" was probably one of the most creatively.
Got it.
Yeah, me too.
I've already just got it.
But do you know
what?
Oh my goodness, buckets.
Where have you been for the last 10 years, buckets?
Oh,
okay, so
well, it wasn't in the NT, was it? I wasn't seeing you in the NT.
You can see us in the NT, mate. It's all right.
Probably see you next Tuesday, but
I just got on that. See you next Tuesday. I like that one. That's very clever. Or next Thursday.
So bring it forward, right? Now COVID hits. We were all stuck behind doors. No one could get in, no one could get out, right? Now COVID is no more, even though it still lingers around. COVID is no more. But we're not allowing our tourism industry to grow again. Sydney was one of the most popular cities in the entire world to visit People loved our beaches. People loved our restaurants. People loved our wildlife. You know, they came here because of Bondi Beach and Steve Irwin and the Irwin family. They came here because Sydney, the Opera House, the harbour, the buildings, the food, the music, the culture. People loved it. Even Oprah came here and did her show here. Alan came here and did her show here. We need to bring our tourism back. I know the Labour Party and the Liberal Party and whoever other party will say, oh, we don't have the money for that. It's not in our budget. But you can make it happen. Guys, you can make it happen. If we just work out a way to get our tourism going, just with a simple thing. I even said that I'm happy to do an ad on CatSpace to promote this beautiful country of ours and to promote its tourism. I bet we can come up with an ad so funky and fresh and happy and joyous, right? And that would spark something. I really miss our tourism. I miss people coming here. I miss people, spending here. I miss people acknowledging that Sydney is one of the greatest countries in the entire world, other than America.
Melbourne would basically, sorry, Luna would say differently.
Melbourne, yeah. Luna, would you say that? Would you say differently, honey?
Well, Melbourne is the most livable city in the world, voted. So I'll just say that.
It's the most expensive city on earth.
Most livable city in the world. Or it was a couple of years ago.
I just I just remember going out to the city every single week, getting absolutely plastered on Thursday. See you next Thursday. And basically loving the city life in Sydney, absolutely loving it. But I could afford it then. I could afford it. Yeah. I could afford to go out. I could afford to have fun. I could afford to do those things. If I wanted to see a movie, I could afford to see a movie. We can't afford to see a movie anymore. It's too expensive.
It comes on Netflix.
Well, yeah, it comes on Netflix, but to actually go into a cinema, honestly, this isn't something that people do every week anymore. I remember I used to go to a movie every week with my friends. Every week, every time on a Saturday, we would go out and we'd go see a movie together. All seven of us.
I wouldn't be surprised if Barbie came on Netflix or Disney.
Yeah, but my point is that our lifestyle has become so expensive. Basic things have become so expensive that it's like, why would any American want to come to this country? We can get basically treated like a god in Bali or Thailand or the Philippines or another cheap Asian country, okay? When he can basically sleep in a 5-star motel for something like $60 US. Why would they come all the way to Australia when, by the way, it's extremely expensive to even get through customs? It's like $2,000 if you bring your parents, right? You can get it back when you leave. Why would you do that when all of that gets ignored, right, in other countries, like some of the Asian countries, like some of the European countries? Why would you come to Australia? It's way too expensive.
Read the next question.
I didn't answer the question. What was the question?
The question. How is our tourism going, and where is the decline? Oh, where is there how is our tourism going, and where is there a decline?
So 2 areas of decline I can find is COVID happened. People stopped coming here, obviously, because all the flights were grounded. There was excessive lockdowns, blah, blah, blah. I think that really scared people to come here because you had to pay to get in and you had to pay for like a 2-week hotel stay, and no one wanted any part of that mess. The second area is that COVID also allowed us to understand that working from home is possible in many industries. And so many people have now pointed out that they don't want to come back into the office. And workplaces are encouraging them, come back, we need you back into the city, we need the cafes, need you. No, it's possible to work from home, let me work from home. So there's that part that's been shown to human evolution that is a bit of a downfall in some areas, but I think we can all agree that Australia is a beautiful country. It is absolutely breathtaking. There is numerous landscapes and special places for people to go and visit and go and explore. And that is going to be the reason that eventually our tourism will come up. 100%, I believe that. Our country's too beautiful for people not want to see it. And we don't really have that strict of rules for travelers. You can get in here pretty, get a traveling visa, come have a look. You don't have to,
It is expensive. You don't know the price. The price is expensive if you come in here.
Of course it's expensive, but I'm talking traveling on a holiday. You come for a week, you can get a plane into here, you can get a hotel, you can get a visa, and you can get a working visa. My cousin used to work at a hostel. I met plenty of people who were here on working visas, just working at picking farms, and in the meantime, they were seeing Australia in between. And they said, it's not the best money, but it's free accommodation, free food. And yeah, they were really enjoying their experience. So there is an experience here if you're willing to put in the work and if you have the money. I agree with that. But 100% there's an experience here for tourists.
If you want to ask the last question, which is
before we do that, just to indulge Buckets, because he's said it earlier on, mentioned the Barbie movie earlier on, should be available to stream from September the 5th.
Oh.
It is a pretty good movie. I thought it was hilarious. There are other people that, like, parents are going, "Oh, that's not so funny," and I was laughing hard at it. But anyway,
I haven't seen it, and I'm excited.
So is Anthony Albanese responsible for what's happening in general? Yes, he's the Prime Minister. I think he's doing a shit job at the moment. There are some areas that he's really doing quite well, like education, for example. But all I keep hearing about is the voice, 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 and nothing else. Okay, so, but before, like, it's almost like he's a lot of the complaints that the people are making are just being fallen on deaf ears. He's not listening to his own people. And I'm really disappointed in that because I voted him in. I had a lot of faith in Anthony Albanese. I thought he was going to fix all our problems. I thought that he was the best candidate. I truly believe that the Labor Party was going to make our lives better. And if anything, it hasn't made our lives better. It's made our lives more expensive. So I'm quite disappointed in Mr. Albanese. And he keeps going on about how he grew up in Marrickville and came from a poor family and every dollar counts and stuff like that. And that does sound sentimental, and he probably did. But he's not remembering that because he's basically spitting in the face of every Australian who's just trying to get by in life and survive. And I really believe that our country is going through the most expensive turmoil, which isn't necessary considering our country is one of the richest countries in the world. And I'm really quite disappointed in Mr. Albanese for what he's doing. The amount of money he's just pissing away at the voice, doesn't matter if you believe yes, no, whatever. The amount of money that's being wasted that could be spent on Aboriginal people, which are really suffering out there, or non-Aboriginal people that are also suffering as well, okay, or on actual programs that will make our lives cheaper, is just been fallen on deaf ears. And I wish that he would listen to his people. I doubt he's going to listen to me, but I would like him to. And I wish he'd just pull his head in and actually remember that that he works for all Australians, not just 1.4% of Australians.
Is Anthony Albanese responsible for what's happening in general? Absolutely. There is no doubt in my mind that now I'm so disillusioned I have so much regret that I voted this man in. I agree. I voted this man into thinking he was going to help us, thinking he was going to pull this country through, thinking he was going to do what it takes for the everyday Australian. How wrong I was. Is he responsible for the decline? Absolutely. I don't hate him. But what I find is he's wasting billions and billions. He just spent 1.7 billion on missiles. Tomahawk missiles. Sure, we need to protect Australia in case of defense if something happens and we're at war. Sure. But that 1.7 billion could have spent better in rental freezers, rental caps, in jobs, hospital beds for patients. Doctors, nurses, mental health nurses get paid better. Families, jobs, tourism. You're looking at 1.7 billion. Mr. Albanese, I'm going to look straight at you. You will not get my vote this time. You broke my heart. And I'm sorry, but I feel you are. And please don't come in, it's just my opinion piece. But you are responsible. All we ever hear is the voice, the voice, the voice, the voice, the voice. When are we going to hear about something great in our country? And don't tell me that you're saying those words that another person in another part of the world is saying without you saying it. We all know you're saying it. We're tired of it. It's exhausting. It's burnt our people down. We are all burnt out. Exhausted and tired is an understatement. I hold him responsible. I hold him responsible for the decline. And I'm very disillusioned. And I'm very angry and disappointed that the Labour Party doesn't listen to its citizens. It's only for the some majority, not all. Hate me all you want, come at me. I don't care that I don't hate him. I'm not, this is an attack. This is an angry moment for me. As an Australian, we're all Australians. This country needs a unity, not a division. Think about it. What are we wasting money on? Supplies for building homes? Where's our money coming from? It's not from here. Think about it. It's not from this country. They say they don't have the cash. We do. We do have the cash. Call me what you want. Sorry. My opinion. Guys, is Anthony Albanese responsible for what's happening in general, Leon?
Well, he's the Prime Minister of Australia right now, so whatever's happening in Australia right now is on the Prime Minister, which is on Anthony Albanese. I was dumbfounded hearing about the Tomahawks. I did hear about this. Oh, how whatever billion they spent on these missiles to defend ourselves, right? We're not at war right now, right? We maybe down the track, maybe, right? Look, cross our fingers it doesn't happen. But isn't there a cost of living issue right now that all Australians are going through right now, as you put, Kat, as you put, Buckets, as you have put, that money could have been put into sorting out this cost of living issues, the crisis at the moment. I know the government has said that they're going to focus on putting up houses and stuff like that. Okay, that's fine, but they also said that was a 10-year plan. Fine, that's a 10-year plan. What about the people that are struggling right now? Pull your finger out, get it done.
And the fact that in Marrickville, where he lives, you know where he was the other day? Buying a pork roll sandwich in Marrickville.
I don't, to be honest, right? That I know, I am aware of that story, but that's just gossip right now. He went to a fast food joint and bought something. Yeah, that's to me that is a non-story. That is just gossip.
No, I know, but what I'm saying, I'm not trying to gossip. What I'm saying is there's a cost of living, and he's smiling in that photo. Like, we're all hurting here. I don't earn enough and it hurts, right? As you said, we are not at war yet. Possibly, cross our fingers, we don't. $1.7 billion.
And let's not forget the amount of money that was spent on promoting the yes vote, which could have easily been spent on
Cost of
helping
living.
the most helping the most disadvantaged Aboriginal people in the center of Australia. They could have, with that money, they could have really helped Aboriginal people get off the ground, get into education. They could have helped their health and well-being. They could have built hospitals with that money. What are they spending it on? They're spending they're spending on lights, camera, action, television, all that sort of stuff.
Radio interviews.
Yeah, but how many? I ask, how many poor, starving, Aboriginal people has that money helped? And the answer is none.
Zero.
It hasn't helped any of them. It hasn't helped any Aboriginal people at all. All it's done is just waste so much money. And I'm quite angry because that could have easily been fixed something. We could have moved something. We could have
moved forward.
We could have fixed so many Australian problems that are basically beneath the poverty line. We could have fixed so many problems with that money, but instead it's just being wasted. And
it's disgusting.
It's a disgusting amount of money that's being spent, and it's going nowhere. It's literally going nowhere. All it's done is divide us as Australians.
Exactly. Exactly. Good man. Luna, tough question. Is Anthony Albanese responsible for what's happening right now in general?
Him and his party are, yes. They're meant to be versed in politics and running a country and law, and budgeting and scheduling. They're meant to have gone through extensive training to get to this point, to be the honor of even being prime minister. And I think this is his shot. Do you know what I mean? This is his shot in the spotlight, and he's doing a terrible job for the underdog. And as I said, there is a hell of a lot more laborers in Australia than there are business owners. I really believe that. And people in the higher income class, if that makes sense. And everyone who was once a part of that middle class is now just automatically pushed into lower class. And we're all struggling. And everything needs to change, and everything has changed based upon his budget. His establishment, his team has come together and put this budget together and put this schedule together and put, our next couple of years together, and they've done a terrible job at it. I think that him and his team are not ready to be at this point in politics yet. I believe that they need to be foreshadowing someone a bit longer, someone who knows what they're doing a little bit more, because I think they can clearly see that there's something wrong, and they're trying to find ways to fix it, and it's just not working. Whether they bought these Tomahawks because they're gearing up for war, is this a pre-warning? Like, do you know what I mean? There's so many questions that aren't being answered, so many secrets and things that are being thrown in our face. Like, what are we meant to think? And that's where his downfall is. He's allowing everyone he's not being honest with us. He's not telling us things. He's not saying, oh, we need money for this, or we need money for that, or that's where politics lacks. It doesn't ask the people for help. It doesn't ask the people what they need. And we're the ones that need it at the end of the day. We're the ones that know what we need. Ask us what we need. Don't just guess based off, we have this in the budget, or we have this in the budget. Survey things, find things out. I believe they would have done this, but not to the extent that is needed to create a budget that was
adequate.
Correct.
It is. It's distraction right now. That's what it is. It's distraction politics.
Yeah. And lastly, here's the question I want to throw at everybody before we close it off. And again, this is just my opinion. I'm not here to offend or upset anybody. Is Anthony Albanese, our Prime Minister, using the words without using those words and making it obviously clear? And those words are very dangerous to play with, even though they're copyrighted. The first person who ever said them was Ronald Reagan.
You're talking about the MAGA thing, aren't you?
Yes. Is he saying, make Australia great again, without saying, make Australia great again? Because obviously he's been heard saying he wants to make Australia greater.
Can I say something on that? All Australian politicians, including all American politicians, all politicians in general, that are put in the position of either president or prime minister, want to make their country better. Whether they actually become better, that's a different story. But they all have the purpose, or at least the drive, or the need to want to become better. So yeah, I mean, it's something that Donald Trump copyrighted and made it his own, and it does sound pretty scary when Albanese is basically saying make Australia greater again, as opposed to great again.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he looks up to Donald Trump at all. I think Albanese is probably closer to a communist than he actually is a capitalist, to be perfectly honest. And he's definitely a closeted Republican, to be perfectly honest. So
well, he's not a Commonwealth man; he's an Australian Republican.
But if there be anyone to actually want to become a republic, it would be Albanese.
Yeah.
And if not Albanese, it would definitely be Turnbull. But to just say, make Australia great again. All politicians want that. All politicians want to be great. So that's a kind of a very, it's not the words that make them great. Okay, it's their actions that make them great. I don't know how you're going to have to put that into a slogan, but that's the truth.
Leon?
I definitely agree, right? The reason why but he won't say make Australia greater again, because it reminds him of the line that Donald Trump used. Not necessarily what's the other dude's name? Nixon? Was it Nixon?
Reagan.
Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan, I apologize for that. The reason why he won't picture Ronald Reagan is because Donald Trump had used this line recently. In the 2016 election, 2020. He won't use that line because it will remind him of Donald Trump, and also the Labor Party have used the Donald Trump line lately against people who are thinking about voting no in the Voice campaign. They're saying some of the Labor politicians, and I have heard this, say that, by voting no, you are following Trump-style politics. Trump has nothing to do with the Voice.
Exactly.
And you'll also find that a lot of these politicians, try to run their lines, or try and run their quote-unquote lines. They've plagiarized from movies and try to pass it up as their own. So if you get a chance, just have a look at, or watch a YouTube video, Australian politicians plagiarizing, and you will find heaps of examples. So it's just a hope that somebody actually thinks of something original and actually is original. Because when I hear that kind of stuff, make Australia great again, it's already plagiarized. Donald Trump's plagiarized of what Ronald Reagan did. I'd like to see a politician with actual creativity by coming up with something original. Because I wonder if make America great again.
Aussie. Oi.
Well, there you go. That's
Done.
That's already won. We've already won that.
I'd like to see I'd like to see an actual line, original line.
Yeah, that one. Every Australian in the bloody world knows that one.
Yeah.
Scott Morrison said just how good is Australia when he got elected.
Luna,
Are you
is
asking? Yeah, okay, go and read the question again. No,
I'm asking you, do you believe that our Prime Minister is saying make Australia great again without saying make Australia great again?
Mm, no.
Okay.
No. I simply don't think that nobody wants to go that way. Come on, guys. That was the biggest joke in America's history. Like, and if it happens again, like, if you're a non-American citizen, I'm going to say this, and I mean this with the utmost respect to their way of living and however they want. If they loved it, then they loved it. I'm not trying to really look down on it, but the way that the world looked at them having as a president, um, it was just like a big circus, like bloody movie. I feel like all Americans are in a giant movie. What the heck? Like, what are you doing? This is your government that what are you joking around with your government for? What are you juggling around? Like, here, have a celebrity. Here, have this guy who owns some businesses. Like, no, that's not how it works. Who did he shadow? How did he know politics? How does he know anything? How does he know how to run a bloody country? Regardless of that, I do think Albanese has done a little bit of a better job than that. Let's give him a tiny bit of credit here. As Kat said, the education department's doing all right. I think he's going to try and make up for things. He'll try. But he definitely won't be voted in again. 100% on that. Do I think he's trying to make Australia great again?
I think he's followed.
I can see how you could misconstrue that in certain things that he does. They come off very strongly in ways, but at the same time, I really think Australians would not go for that at all. Like, we're way too multicultural for that. We're just too diverse. It just would not happen. It would just, I don't know.
In my opinion, I think what he's done, he's gone, I'm going to make myself popular by following the woke train. And it's just backfired on him.
Yeah.
It's just backfired. And now that
you have to remember that their morals also come out in their ministry. I mean, at the end of the day, there is laws and all those rules that they have to follow, but their values and their morals as a human and their beliefs come a lot into play with how they would run things and how they would determine things. So we're just really seeing him, and he does have a more trying to fit in vibe, pick me girl vibe, a little bit.
I truly believe that he thought, okay, if I just follow the woke train, then I'm going to be popular and I'm going to jump on this train and people are going to love me. And he's realized that, holy shit, everyone hates me because I just jumped on the woke train instead of actually following common sense.
I think he's also pretty nervous about, who came before him and what happened. He's probably very nervous about all of that too, and that obviously would give anxiety. It would give me anxiety. I couldn't run a bloody country, so.
Well,
you'd have to be awake like 24 hours a day and rapidly become an insomniac, because you never know what's going to happen at any minute if you were the Prime Minister of Australia.
Exactly.
Or in this case, the Prime Ministeress of Australia. There you go.
Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight in this in-depth special edition of Cat Space for Australia in Decline. Let us know in the comments what you think. Let us know your truth. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. We are on Instagram. We are on Threads. We are on Facebook. Make sure you follow us there. Let us know what you think. And invite your friends to subscribe, like, and comment as well. Thank you so much. We hope you stay safe and warm. God bless each and every one of you. And thank you for watching tonight. And we will have audio really soon. Until then, peace, love. And thank you so much. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.